I love Jessica, and I love what she has with the Lord. So I'm excited to commend her to you. But we did have something come up recently that I can introduce her with. It's a little bit funny. So we have been in the process of cleaning up some of the administrative things and changing around, and we've still got a few more to do. One of those was the renewal on our internet with Comcast. And fortunately, we were able to get a little bit better deal and still get the same services and stuff. And so part of that deal, to get the full package of discounts, which lowered the price down about a little less than half what we used to pay, one of them was a mobile phone that we had to sign up for. And turned out the mobile phone was a wash, but it got us enough discounts that it was totally worth it. And we had an unused phone number that we were going to transfer over to it, but it turned out to be awkward to do that last night when we were trying to activate it. So we just said, well, yeah, since we haven't done anything with that other phone number, we can start from scratch. And we do have some marketing ideas that we've been thinking about and reaching out to people. So anyway, the phone number came through, and it was unusual, the assigned phone number that we got with the number, or with the phone. And the last four digits are 2589. And I stuck that real quick because we were hurrying into ChatGPT, and it said a joy was one of them. And also one of them, which we discovered today, just thinking about it, is Be Joy. So that's pretty cool for a church named Joyland, right? The last four digits. The only thing that was a little bit of a hang up was the three numbers preceding that were 666. And so 666, really. I've never even in my entire life seen a 666 as a phone. Yeah, I've never seen it. So anyway, this will let you know a little bit about Jessica. I said, okay, so I don't know. Yeah, but she said, I think we should keep it. And in about 10 minutes of discussion between her and Jason and me and some laughing, we already have the beginnings of some marketing. So whether it's A Joy or B Joy, 666 Be Joy. And they came up with the thing, wow, that'll help deliver you from a religious spirit, just calling. And so it got funny after that. I can't think of any other church, personally, that would accept a 666 prefix number. So that's Jessica. Here we go.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome. That was just a beautiful example of the Holy Spirit's humor in that situation. When we saw that populate, it was like, wow. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So, I just wanted to say welcome back from lunch, everybody. It really has been a joy to be at this conference with you all and just experiencing the things that we've been revelating on together. I love the idea of a conference that is named Restored Wonder. Like, I think it was you, Bill, that came up with that theme. Catherine, you came up with that theme, yeah. But as you guys were talking, bringing up that theme, and so it was presented here at Joyland, it was like, wow, like, I just thought, man, Lord, that is so perfect. A conference that's about wonder. Like, there's so many other topics that conferences can be about, but wonder just encapsulates something about the Father so well that we just kind of oftentimes overlook. So, since the first time that the Father began to correct my view of him, wonder began to awaken in me. And that's kind of back when I realized there's something about wonder with like truly knowing and understanding the Father's heart. They've always been entwined together. So I think wonder is part of how we were designed to see the world and our Father. The world was never ours to manage from a place of control. And the Father's love was never something to perform for. So when you get these concepts mixed in, the wonder is gone immediately. But when that is not there, there's automatically this wonder in it. We were meant and created to exist within and marvel at his creation and marvel at his love, to behold with open eyes and an open heart. One of the first memories that I have with my son of just really being able to watch a child's view of wonder. There was this morning that I woke up, and his crib was in my room, and the sun from the morning sun was shining in, like it just like perfectly lit up his crib. And I hear, as I'm waking up, I hear this sound, and like so I wake up like, wow, like what is that? And I look across my bed over at the crib, and I see it's him. He's singing. And as he just, I mean, his voice just kept going on and on and on. And it would like raise and crescendo. And then like a hand came up out of the crib. And then the other hand, and he's turning them and just in awe, singing to his hands, watching how he can turn and twist them. And I'm just watching this with the sunlight streaming in. I'm like, oh, wow, that's really precious. And then it just continues, and then a foot comes up, and then the other foot. Now, and I started to realize, like, there were a couple of times and mornings in a row for like a week where he just would wake up, and he was just in so much awe that these limbs were attached to him, that these appendages were attached to him, and they would do things if he would make them. So it was so precious watching that childlike wonder, the way like children operate naturally in that wonder. Like if I could wake up in the morning and just be in that awe of the way my body works, like that's how they are. So we're called to be like little children. He oftentimes says that. And children just, they encapsulate wonder so well. You can't separate that from a child. When a child loses wonder, they lose their childlikeness. So when and what causes us to stop living with wonder? So as I was thinking about that, it's like somewhere along the way, we grow up, life gets complicated. We experience pain, disappointment, responsibility, and we start to guard our hearts. And little by little, the world that once shimmered with mystery starts to look ordinary. It's the guarding of our hearts that causes that to happen. But I don't think we ever truly lose that wonder. It just gets buried with so many of these things about what the Lord has put in us and who we are. They never disappear. They just get buried. And it's about us being able to reawaken that. So they're buried under the noise of survival, buried under what we call being realistic, buried under the belief that we already know how things work, or I'm just going to explain this away. Even in ministry, wonder can oftentimes fade, and it becomes this task. We start talking about God like he's outside of the room. We talk about him, we sing about him, we serve him, and yet we forget what it feels like to be astonished by him, to be one with him, to be in him in that moment. But the Father never stops inviting us back into wonder. He's constantly planting things around us to draw us back into that. So what is wonder? I started to ask myself going through this, and it's not naivety. There's something in that I feel like can be put on us. Sometimes other people with their pain and disappointment, when you share this wonder about something, because of their own pain and disappointment, they can also put on it like, well, that's just because you're just naive. But it's not that, and it's not a denial of hardship. We understand that is all around us. But wonder is a sacred sight. It's the heart's ability to recognize divine presence in all things. And Ronnie, you brought that up. You can see God's presence in every person. We can see God's presence, Catherine, he said, in every inanimate object. So when we have that sight to see that, that's where the wonder reactivate, where it awakens again. It's the whisper in our spirit that says, wow, God, you're here too. Scripture tells us that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. That's that wonder, that's his presence within us, that glory that he's hidden within us. And it's hidden so that we get to go through this mystery, this journey to uncover it bit by bit by bit. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, Romans 1:20. And a lot of these, I love how, like, I've never spoken at a conference before, so I think it is so cool. There's so much that has already been said where I'm like, yeah, like, so there's a lot of time I'm just kind of repeating and iterating where it's like, yeah, like, I love that. It is in creation all around, so that's where we can discover the attributes of God. Like, when I'm asking him to learn something about him, he usually points me to something in nature to teach me. So unless you become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And this is Matthew 18:3. Also, once again, reiterating, there's this wonder that he wants us, that is already in us, that he wants to restore, because then we realize we are in the kingdom already. And we get to be in awe of the way our hands work. We get to be in awe of the way the tree in our backyard. We get to be in awe that we are in the kingdom. And these wonderful things are happening around us, in us, through us. But we have to practice with that sight. So all these verses are about reawakening that sight, letting our hearts perceive what has been there all along. God doesn't restore wonder by giving us new spectacles. He restores it by awakening our hearts to see again what's already full of him. I think back to my life, to a season where wonder was completely buried in my own life. It was so buried that I didn't even know that it was missing. Because it goes bit by bit by bit. And we're not necessarily taught that that's something that needs to be maintained. So I didn't even know it was missing. I was very broken. I was exhausted. I was questioning my worth, and I had no concept of what love was. The Father, from what I had known of him at the time, was a very distant figure. And I had grown so exhausted of trying to please him to earn love that I had given up. So everything felt gray. I was just trying to survive, but even that was not for me. It was only for the people around me. But what's amazing is the way he pursued me in that. He brought me to that place intentionally so that I can then learn and understand that, no, that Father that you thought was me, that was never me. I am actually really glad you turned your back on that idol. Like, come to me. Like, I want to love on you. I want you to know me. So there was this morning where I was sitting in that hopelessness and that despair, and I was desperate for something to shift. I actually reached a place where I was like, okay, I was pregnant with Sterling, and that's what triggered that desire for that shift. I'm like, I'm not even in this for me anymore. I'm in this for the people around me. But oh no. Now I have a dilemma, because if I'm in this life for the people around me, but also for this son who's going to be born into this world, there's a conflict here, because my energy is going to be so torn between taking care of my son and these other demands that I started to recognize it was going to be a problem. And so that's what caused me to go to that place of desperateness. And I called out for help. I honestly didn't think he would answer, because my view, that idol of the Father, was a distant Father. I don't even know if he'll hear me. He might not be turned my direction. He might not be listening. Like all these times I tried to earn his love and he never seemed to notice. Earning his love, though, that was the problem. But so I called out, and in that stillness, the Father met me. It was not with loud answers, not with a rescue plan, but with his presence. That changed everything. That was all I cared about, and I didn't even know it until that moment. I didn't want answers. I didn't, I just wanted to know that he actually cared, that he was there, that he was present. And the moment I suddenly realized that, it all shifted. And he spoke with so much kindness. He gently loved on me in that moment. And I was like, but I must have disappointed you. Like, I turned my back on you, and he never even addressed that. It was like the prodigal son. Like, he never even addressed that. And later on, he told me, no, you were never rebellious. Like, thank you for turning your back on all those things. So going forward from that point, I oftentimes would meet him through, at that point, I didn't know how else to meet him except for reading the Bible. But it didn't take very long until it was like, oh, you're everywhere. I can just talk to you all the time. So he showed me, and he started to show me what love really was, and that really shifted things. That was where that wonder opened up too. And I didn't know what love was until I learned it from him. And he said, you never needed to earn it. That's not even love. If you have to earn it, that is not love. There is no such thing as conditional love. That just simply is not love. There is only unconditional love. So he showed me that he loved me, he cared about me, and there was nothing I could do to amplify or diminish that love. And that just brought this wonder, this rest, this restoration of so many things. And yet it wasn't that any of my circumstances had changed. Not right away, at least, but something inside of me changed. And that's when I started to realize I was seeing everything gray before, like literally. Colors were so much brighter. That was like one of the first things I remember noticing, waking up. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know these colors were here before, but they're brighter. And I would start to see these gifts that he had placed all around me. Like, because I could sense that even in that darkness, I was not alone. Even in my confusion, I was loved. So it completely changed the circumstance and how I was able to perceive it. My heart was able to open up. And then I could see his treasures all around me. And honestly, none of them were grand miracles. They were just these little gifts, just an abundance of gifts. Because he was starting to teach me, all you got to do is open that sacred sight of wonder. Look at every little thing. And so a practice I started doing at the time, especially when I was hurting, is I'd be, okay, Lord, this really hurts. Like, I'm still in this situation. This really hurts. What gift do you have for me right now? And it would be like some of the most delicate, beautiful thing, the way he can switch something. Like my teardrop maybe would fall onto a board book that I was reading for my son as I'm processing this with the Lord and trying to keep my eyes tuned into the wonder. And then in that teardrop, I would just see the reflections, the light, and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. And, he actually reminded me of that a little bit, again, on an encounter earlier today where it was like, yeah, he was showing me with the teardrops. Every teardrop is a whole world. Because, so I was like, that's why you keep the vials of our tears. I knew that you created something beautiful out of them, but literally every teardrop is a whole world. And they are beautiful. They're stunning. So I went into one of those teardrops, one of those worlds in that encounter, just to take it in. Like, there's nothing in here that resembles pain. Like, there's music, there's singing, there's colors, there's vibrancy, and it's all glorifying you. And so that's why you keep all those teardrops. And so, yeah, I think that might be something I continue to do is, he might continue to take me into some of those teardrops. And not all those teardrops are, from sad times either. But the point he was showing in that is it doesn't matter if it was pain that caused it or joy that caused it. They are beautiful. They're worlds. They are precious. They are things that are restored. And so, yeah, what I realized through this time of reawakening, of discovering what love was, but really reawakening what I had already known a long, long time ago and had forgotten, was that love. And when that love comes back alive, when that presence with him, that's where wonder begins to stir again. They are so linked together. They are so beautiful. All those love notes from the Lord, all over in our ordinary life. Yeah, one thing he said to me is it's like, he never stops showing up when we get disappointed, when we lose that wonder. But what's happening is we just learn to walk with our eyes down instead of up. He says, I'm still showering you with gifts. This wonder is still all around you. This wonder is in you. Look up. But the good news is he is restoring it all. And he's so gentle about it. There were a lot of things that Catherine mentioned about how wonder is restored. So I'll kind of mention some of these, and then I'll go into some that are just mean something a lot to me. So he does it through presence. Man, when we can break off that performance, which doesn't happen by just saying it, it's an experience. I didn't even know I had that performance mentality until an encounter I did have with him. There was somebody that was in this room, in this class that I was taking, and it was about encountering the Father's heart. And so that was at the very beginning where I started to realize, wow, I want to know you more, Father, because, man, I don't know you. I do, who I really am does know you, but I've forgotten. So I want that to come back. I want you to restore those memories of who you are as my Father. So I took this course with my mom because it was, and one of the classes in it was the Father's heart. And man, that class rocked my world because of an encounter I had with him, and I didn't even know it was coming. We were just sitting there in class, and the head guy says, he did a prayer, and he's leading people through stuff, and then he goes, there is somebody here who needs something broken off of them. And I was like, well, dude, is that me, Lord? No, I'm not feeling, I don't think I need to raise my hand. No, I'm good. But you know what? I'm going to pray for that person that you put on my heart that's over. I'm just going to start praying for them. Meanwhile, he's going into this thing. I see them on this stage. They're performing. And I'm just, going into just praying for this other person, thinking, okay, it's from that place of trying to minister to the Lord by loving on the people around me. And that he just knocks my socks off and he goes, no, that's you right there up on that stage. And this immense emotion welled up inside of me. And, meanwhile, I am a very, very shy person, especially at that particular time. So the last thing I would ever do is try to call attention to myself. And suddenly this immense emotion is exploding out of me to the point where I'm like, oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm going to explode. I don't know if this is pain. I don't know what this is. And all I could get out of my mouth in the middle, feeling like I'm interrupting everything is, Father, help me. And immediately he took me into this vision where he showed me as I was a child. And I felt like when you take a Band-Aid off and the wound feels very vulnerable, it feels yucky underneath. It's kind of wet, like you're just like, ugh. Like I needed to air out for a while. My whole body felt like that. I felt very exposed and very vulnerable. And I'm sitting here in the middle of this open field, like what is happening right now? And I see all this rubble around me, like something had exploded, and like ruins. And then I see Jesus standing right there on the other side of that rubble. And he comes and he steps over that rubble, and I'm feeling really vulnerable, really disgusting, that disgusting Band-Aid feeling. What are you doing? And he just came and he picked me up and he carried me outside of that rubble. And he showed me in that moment what he had done was broken down the walls around my heart. And he was showing me the Father's love. He was just taking me into this place where after that there was something different. I was like, about that performance mentality, but I got it from that encounter. That's where it broke off. And before that, it had just all been words. Yes, yes, I know, Lord. It's not about performance. It's not about earning. But it wasn't until that something happened. He broke something off. The other way that the Father restores wonder is through beauty, not busyness. And man, he has been really lighting this up in me lately. There was probably a year to 2 years ago, and during that time, I was getting really good about meditating with the Lord and taking these special moments with him every day. And I was loving it. It was changing things inside of me. But slowly, busyness kind of choked that out. And it happened slowly, and I forgot. So a couple of weeks ago, he started saying, you are so busy that you're not taking this time to see the beauty all around you. It's still there, but man, you're just walking right by. You're rushing right by it. And it's hard. It's hard to tell yourself to slow down, to enjoy it. Because I deal with this, but there's going to be consequences. If I don't get all these things done, there are consequences, Lord. Like, it backs up. Other things happen as a result, and it doesn't feel good. He goes, yeah, but look how the state that you are in right now, your soul is so exhausted. It is like I would get to the end of the day feeling like I'm just out of breath. Like I feel like I've been running all day. Well, not exactly running, but I've been going as fast as I possibly can to get as much done as I can. He goes, and what did that accomplish? And so I've been trying to activate that again. I was, Mercy, man, I loved your snap talk where you brought us into that beautiful encounter time with the Lord, because that was so healing to me. And that was right on with what he had been saying for a little while there. And so I was really looking forward to that, knowing you were going to do that. I'm like, yeah, I need to get back into this. So I have been. I've been getting back at it, knowing that it's like riding a bike. You can get a little rusty, but man, it's going to come back a lot faster because I know how it feels to be there, that peace, that rest in the busyness. It doesn't change the circumstances, but man, you can manage them so much better, and you get to enjoy it so much more. And wonder is all around you while you're still. So you're just taking that time to be, nope. And so, like, I've been enjoying that. There have been a couple of times where I'll just go out in the last 2 days with my cat. He's actually been joining me. And I'll lay in the backyard in the sun, and he's not really much of a cuddler, but he'll come up and press right up against me, and we just go in together. And I'm like, and yesterday I fell asleep for a brief moment while doing it because it felt so good. And then I woke up in a panic. Oh my gosh, I might have lost him, because he does need to be watched when he's out there. He will go off exploring, and he's not supposed to be an outdoor cat, only when he's supervised. But he just has been it's been amazing with me, because I woke up just startled, like, oh my gosh, I think I lost him. And he just looks at me like, relax, I'm right here. I've been here the whole time. It's like, wow, Lord, like that's actually, that was a moment of wonder. I'm like, my cat's enjoying this with me. We're going up and in together. that's really cool. So then the other thing that really restores wonder is childlike trust. And that breaks my heart when I think about children and adults, that's a reason that the wonder has been lost, because that trust has been broken. Yeah, and as a mom, it's like you can easily take that on as a burden, like I need to make sure this trust stays intact. But it's not about striving. That's another thing about wonder, is that the Lord is in them just as much as anyone else, in the way that he walks with them and stuff, and the way he speaks to them. And they are on that wonderful journey, like you were saying, that journey, every step of it. And it's beautiful. So that childlike trust. I know there were times in my life where that was broken, but he restored it. He restored it so immensely that when I was when I was about 30, that's when it all shifted. And I'm now 38, and I could say I experience more wonder now than I think I ever did as a child, which is hard. I was thinking about that with the Lord once, and one of the things he reminded me about, he now speaks to me a lot through Disney movies, which is beautiful because I hated Disney movies growing up. So when he first started doing that, he would sing the song Aladdin, the carpet ride, and I was like, why do you keep on doing that, Lord? This is just plain embarrassing. He would just keep on singing A Whole New World to me out of the blue. And I'm like, oh, this is really embarrassing. Like, you're going to make me blush. I don't like this. And he goes, what's wrong with it? Well, Disney movies, princesses. Like, what's your problem with that? And then he reminded me when I was 4 years old, he took me back to this memory. I was sitting there with one of my friends. We were watching the very beginning of Beauty and the Beast. And I must have been in a really foul mood because I'm watching myself in this memory. And I was like, I don't like these movies. And my friend goes, why? I said, because fairy tales aren't real. And I was like, wow, Lord, I said that? He goes, yeah, you did. At that age? Yeah. I said, how do you feel about them now? I goes, well, and this was back a little bit, so there's still a lot of healing. I was like, I still don't believe fairy tales are real. And I felt his heart. He was actually a little crushed by that. So I turned to him. I was like, "What? Did I say something wrong?" And I love fairy tales. You are living in a fairy tale. I'm all about fairy tales, but you have to be patient. You're just in the middle of it. They don't get good until the very end. That's when the fairy tale comes true. I mean, it's like, huh. Well, that's interesting. So I started, okay, all right, you can sing these songs to me. I still feel awkward about it, but it started to feel like I started to receive it. And then it just would be every single Disney movie. Like, I would watch a Disney movie with string, I just start bawling. Every single Disney movie, there was just crazy stuff in there. And the way he talks to me through it is just amazing. So, yeah, I'm learning a lot about wonder through Disney movies. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and just kind of jump back into this last part here and wrap this up. But so, like, 3 ways that we can really join him in this restoration of wonder. And it's a practice. Oh, yeah, this story. This, I think, is how I'll wrap it up. One of my favorite quotes now has become there's a quote from Alice in Wonderland, where it's actually, I looked it up just to make sure I had this right, but it's actually apparently the White Queen who says it to Alice, because Alice doesn't believe in impossible things. And she says to her, it's just because you don't practice enough. I do as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. And I thought, yeah, that's wonder right there, the impossible. So I would start to go in with Sterling in the morning. I was like, well, then let's do these things even while we're eating breakfast. Let's go up. Let's go in. Let's see the impossible. And it sets the tone for the day. And it creates wonder. You just see the impossible things around you, and you start realizing there is nothing that is impossible. Because, man, when we limit ourselves to the physical realm, yeah, we miss most of the story. Like, there is so much. So that's a practice. That's what she was telling Alice. It's just because you don't practice it enough. So the wonder is a practice. The more we practice it, the more it multiplies. And it changes your heart. And it is love incarnate. It's an encounter with love. It's an encounter with the Father. It's one of my favorite things. So I love that. That is what this conference is all about addressing.
The cat and children. This morning, I got up and I'm walking around the house just doing stuff, and I see Boots. Boots is our cat, and I haven't seen Boots for about a week and a half, and I was kind of worried about him, or worried about her. So she's up on the picnic table, and it used to be if you sat down, your lap belonged to her. She would just but she's gotten kind of independent. Like I said, she's been, just once. So I saw her on the picnic table, and I went out there. She just looked so new, just so precious. And I was really happy to see her. So I went out, and I sat on the picnic table, and then she just disappeared, and I'm saying, Boots, Boots. And so I kind of gave up, and all of a sudden, she just crawls up under my arm and sits on my lap. And so we sat there for about 10 minutes, and I'm squeezing her and talking to her and stuff like that. And finally, I got to get back to work or go do what I was doing. And as I'm driving here, I see one of my favorite people to ever see. He was born 15 years ago. And he was only supposed to live for 1 year. Oh. They said he had all kinds of damage to his brain. His joints were locked. In fact, the doctors came this close to persuading his mom to abort him. That was 15 years ago. And he's walking down from his house. I didn't recognize, I'd seen him, within the last year, but I don't see that much of him or his family. But he was walking down the road to the highway, and I didn't recognize him from behind because he was so much taller. He had been so short for most of his life, and we've been praying about that, getting to your growth spurt, stuff like that. And I passed him because I wasn't sure who he was, and then I turned, and it was who I thought it was, and car bolted to us, stopped, and we started talking, and I mentioned something that his grandmother had told me about him. They nominated him to be the king or a prom or whatever that is, and he told them, because of his relationship with Daddy, he wasn't really interested in stuff like that. Aww. And I said, yeah, your grandmother told me about that. You know what? Man, you are a Jedi. But those two wonderful, since we've been talking about wonder, Daddy's surprising me with wonder. Like Boots this morning and Isaiah as I was driving down here. So now I'm not going to go looking for wonder. I'm just going to let Daddy surprise me with it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think that's so funny that one of the songs that God gave me in one of my early prayer sessions was A Whole New World by Aladdin, and I hated that song. And I was like, when it popped in my head in the prayer session, I looked at Nate and was like, seriously? Seriously? No. No, but it has become a favorite because I think he does like fairy tales. And then, Jessica, thank you. You guys, I have been in a very foul mood for the last 15 hours. And and it's all good. I'm still here. Everything's fine. But what you said, I'm going to read you some lyrics that I wrote about fairy tales.
Oh.
You ever notice fairy tales all have some kind of hell? Epic love means epic pain. The heroine is reaching out, the hero is full of doubt, and all the villains scream and shout. But I think what makes a story good is when the hero does what he should. Don't give up when others would. Every hero must rise, show up for the final fight, and wonder, could I do it too? And the chorus is, it's a leap of faith. It'll take all of your strength fighting against the odds. When it looks like certain death and there's no hope that's left and every dream seems lost, this is not where you give up. Double down on your chances. Everything happens right here. This is where epic happens.
That is awesome.
Epic, wonder.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Wow. That is cool.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Daddy likes fairy tales.
Thanks, Jessica.
Hey.
So what I felt like God was kind of showing me was, Satan and his cohorts is absolutely void of wonder. And he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And one of his means is to portray his persona on us, which absolutely will strip us of wonder. And so God took me down this line. It's like loss of wonder goes to hopelessness, the fruit of loss of wonder goes down and down. And God said, one of the roots of suicide is one of the fruits of suicide is eventually loss of wonder. Because if you lose wonder, you lose your identity, you lose hope, you lose everything. So he just made me aware of when you go to those places and start feeling all that stuff, know that, a lot of that isn't your thoughts. That's somebody trying to throw their persona on you and destroy your identity and your connection with God. So.
Wow. That is really good. I like that. That's a good indicator. Hold on to that. Like asking yourself, did I lose wonder? Because right, it is the beginning of a slide. Huh. Very cool. Thank you, guys.